So we're going to begin with some different ways to find an average. And so hopefully you have heard of these. Different ways to find an average are the mean, the median, and the mode. And so we're going to work in this presentation at learning how to calculate each of these three averages. So I'm going to begin with just some definitions and some notations. So for mean, in order to denote the mean, we're going to use the symbol X with a bar over the top. We call it X bar. And that symbol stands for the mean of a data set. This is our most common average. This is the average that you think about when you think about averaging your test grades at the end of the semester. Okay? And so this is the one that most students already know how to find. So if you think about averaging your test scores at the end of the semester, we know that in order to do that, if we had, say, 5 test scores, we would add up those test scores and then divide by 5. All right, so essentially that is what our formula tells us to do to find the mean. So I'm going to write the formula down right here, and then we're going to try to make it a little bit easier to deal with. So the formula for calculating the mean looks like this. All right, so the top part of this symbol at the beginning is a summation symbol. This tells us to add our values. Okay, and again, keep in mind, this is like the example where you are finding an average for your test scores. The first thing you're going to do is add up your test scores. And then the n is going to be the number of values that you have. All right, so as we find the mean, we're going to add up our values on the top, divide by the number of data values that we have on the bottom. And again, the symbol that we use for mean is X bar. Okay, for median, the symbol that we use for median, we abbreviate this MD, and it is the middle value in an ordered list. Okay, now to say that the list is ordered is very important, because if you're going to pull out the middle value, your numbers need to be in order from smallest to greatest. All right, and then finally the mode, and the mode does not have a separate abbreviation. We just call it the mode. The mode is the value that occurs most often. And you want to keep in mind that it's possible that a data set does not have a mode. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to start with an example, and we're going to calculate each of these three averages. All right, so we have an example where we have 15 data values, and the problem is asking us to find the mean, the median, and the mode. All right, so the first thing that I want to do, just to make things a little bit easier on myself, is I want to take a minute and put these numbers in order from smallest to largest. Okay, so this is a little bit tedious, but it's not necessarily hard. We can put the numbers in order. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for you. The smallest value is going to be 123, and I'm going to sort of mark them off as I go. And then we have 214, 272, 299, 336, 397, 412, 413, 419, 424, 504. 537. 555. 605. And 624. Okay, so once that's done, then we're ready to do our calculations. All right, so remember that in order to find the mean, the first thing that I need to do is I need to add the data values up. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to write my formula down for the mean, keeping in mind that on the top that tells me to add my numbers up. All right, so use your calculator and we're going to add those numbers together. And when I do that, I get 6,134. So that is the sum of all of those numbers added up. Now on the bottom, we need the number of values that we have. So I'm going to go through and count. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So I'm going to put a 15 on the bottom, and then I'm going to divide. All right, so 6134 divided by 15 gives me 408, and then it's 0.93. And we're going to round these things to 2 decimal places unless it tells us to do something different. So 408.93, and that will be my mean. All right, for the median, remember that we said the median was the middle number in an ordered list. So I need to go into this list and I need to find the middle value. All right, so my middle value, I think is going to be 413. That puts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 values on the left. And then it puts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 values on the right. All right, so my middle value, remember the list has to be in order, which is why we did that at the beginning. So my middle value is 413. And then the mode is the value that occurs most often. And so if you look at this particular data set, you'll notice that there are no repeats on the numbers. There is no value that occurs more than once. So I'm simply going to say here that this one has no mode. You want to be careful here not to write 0. 0 is not your mode. 0 is a number. This actually does not have a mode. And so you want to say that no mode exists. All right, so let's look at one more example just so that you have another one to reference. Same type problem. They're giving us a data set. We are going to find the mean, median, and mode. The first thing I'm going to do is put these numbers in order. So my smallest number is going to start with 0. Notice that I have 4 of those. Then I have a couple of 1s. I have some 2s. My next biggest number is going to be 4, and I have 2 of those. And then I have 2 5s. I have 2 8s. And I have an 11. All right, so now I have my data set in order, so I'm ready to start my calculations. So remember that for the mean, you are going to add up your data values and divide by the number that you have. All right, so I'm going to add up these numbers. I get 53 when I add all of the numbers together. And when I count my numbers, I see that I have 16 values. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So in order to calculate my mean, I'm going to do 53 divided by 16, which gives me 3.3125. And remember that we're going to do 2 decimal places unless the problem tells us something different. So my mean is going to be 3.31. All right, so the next thing that we need to do is we need to look at finding the median. So in this problem, because I have an even number of values, I have 16 values, it's not going to be easy for me to pull out one single value and say that this is the middle number. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to look at these two as being the middle two. All right, so let me make sure that that's right. That gives me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on the left, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on the right. All right, so now that I know that I have the middle two numbers circled, I'm going to find the value that lies in between those two values. So this one is easy, but if it weren't, what I would essentially do is take those two numbers, add them together, and divide by 2. All right, so 2 plus 2 is 4. 4 divided by 2 is still going to be 2 for my median. All right, so just kind of keep that in mind. I'm going to scroll back to the previous problem just for a second. Remember on this one, we had an odd number of values. We had 15. So we were able to pick out a single value and say this one sits in the middle. But in a problem like this where we have 16 values, where we have an even number of values, the best we're going to be able to do is pull out the middle two and then find the average between those two. All right, and then finally we need to find the mode. Remember, the mode is the value that occurs most often, and we can see that by looking at my ordered list that 0 is the number that occurs the most often. 0 occurs 4 times, which is more than anything else, and so 0 will be our mode.